Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. They say that you should only look at the league table after 10 games, or if you're Walsall fans, perhaps not. I'm back with Harley. We're going to be looking back at September and one game of October. So firstly, Harley, how have you been? Good to see you again.
Yeah, perfect. Great to see you, Matt. I've been really good.
Even though...
how have you been?
Yeah, I was better at the start of the month. I kind of thought we were really onto something, and then it sort of just faded and fizzled out.
Yeah, it has a little bit. It's not been quite the month we were expecting.
No, not at all. So if we go back, do these in sort of pairs of games, because I think that's really the most fitting way to do it. Obviously, we entered September after I'd say, good win against Stevenage, a nice 1-0. The draw against Bradford and the win against Mansfield, it felt like things were starting to turn. I mean, a point away at Bradford's never a bad thing, but given the red card and the sort of battle and fight that Walsall showed in the second half, and then to follow that up with a resounding win, it felt like Taylor had got them going.
Yeah, it did. So it was a really good point at Bradford. I mean, considering the context of the game, like you said, with the red card and everything, we did well to shut them out and come away with a point in a game where we were really saying that a point would have been okay. So to get a point with 10 men was a pretty decent result. And then Mansfield, I was at that game, and I can tell you that we were excellent on the day. We were causing their defence all kinds of issues, and really it was a brilliant performance that we needed and should have been our springboard to kind of fire us up the table, and that hasn't quite happened.
Yeah, I think that that term springboard is sort of key, really. We looked at Stevenage going into September and went, great, this is the springboard now. Then I think everyone felt that was continuing for the next couple of games, and it was, 2 wins and a draw in the league, and great, 7 points from a possible 9, brilliant. Followed that up, there was the win in the EFL Trophy, which Walsall are playing in as we're recording tonight. Kickoff is in 20-ish minutes. And say what you will about the competition, players were getting fit. There was a bit of experimenting in the side. I was quite happy to see the 1-0 win.
Yeah, that was. It wasn't our best game by any stretch of the imagination, but we did the job on the night. We got to kind of test out a few different players. We had a couple of the youngsters play, a couple of kind of fringe players, and it was all right. It was a 1-0. It's nothing nothing less could be asked, really. That was just what we needed.
Yeah, and I mean, it's that sort of competition where you only need 2 wins or a win and a draw with a penalty win, and really you're on sort of 5-6 points, bit of extra cash in the bank, and you're in the next round. Yeah. Which, given the way Walsall's season has started in the league, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing to be doing, to kind of making through a couple of rounds in the and I don't even know what the iteration of it is, the Papa John's Trophy. There we go. I think I think it's maybe the first year in its current format that I would actually really like Walsall to kick on and have a good run.
Yeah, I think that it'd be no bad thing for us to go and have a good run in that competition. It's one that we probably won't win it, but we could go quite far in it, and it'd be nice for the fans to have a little bit of success in a cup run. Yeah, it is a very controversial cup, and I know a lot of people don't like it, but at the same time, we're in it. We're not going to be in it, so let's just enjoy it, and let's try and kind of get some good results from it and see where it takes us. Because a little bit of success in this team, even if it's not in the league, if it comes in the cup, having a good run is no bad thing. And I think it would do the squad a world of good, knowing that we do have quality in the team.
Yeah, I think I know that they're probably dated figures. At the Sunderland, I think it was the Sunderland Echo a couple of years ago, posted what you win at just prize money at each round. And if you get a couple of wins in the group, progress, with, I know the gate receipts aren't too high, but there's also a bit of TV money in it as well, the longer you stay in. If you get to the quarterfinals, you can see the bank topped up by an extra 100,000, which, you know, Lee Pomlet, Jamie Fullerton and Matt Taylor will be looking at and going, that would be quite nice.
Yeah, exactly. And that's potentially a good chunk towards maybe getting a player next season. You know, it's no bad thing to have a bit of extra income, and it's not a lot of skin off our back, really.
Exactly. So after that, we were doing pretty well. We'd been unbeaten in 4, with 3 wins out of those 4, going into the doubleheader of Newport and then Bristol Rovers. The 80th minute onwards seems to be our crux in those games, and it's something that, I mean, we'll get onto the Exeter game, but something that after the Newport game especially, you would expect to see rectified against Bristol Rovers, and it just wasn't.
Yeah, that was it. It really has been an issue for us, and ever since kind of pre-season, we've noticed as a fan base that the player fitness isn't there, and it could be a few things. It's more of a pressing style of play. You see someone like George Miller absolutely runs his legs off every time he goes out onto the pitch, but we need, if he's going to play like that, which does work, we need to have the training sessions to accompany that, whether it's that he's working them too hard or he's not working them hard enough, that something doesn't quite seem right. I said in that piece I wrote that maybe we need to look into getting a specialist in just to kind of bring the fitness, because it is really an issue, and it's something that can easily be quite fixed, and then we can kind of stop conceding late on. Because say what you will, you know, about the Newport game, we weren't that bad. We were all right, and we should have come away with something. And you can say that, yes, a Cam Norman to James Clark goal was always going to happen. But at the same time, I think we shouldn't have conceded late on. And Rovers, it was partly because we were tired. It was partly because bad management, taking off certain players, bringing on other players that didn't really have the desired impact, and everything that went on with Osadebe being down for that extended period of time, which gave Bristol the momentum. But that could have all been averted if we'd have just held out for the 90 minutes, if we'd have just stayed strong. And you can tell about 60 minutes, we're starting to get tired and drag our feet a little bit. And that's where the issues are starting to arise. And that's something we really need to work on, because it is just dropped points after dropped points at this point.
Yeah, it's concerning how many substitutions are being made because of fitness, whether that be players going down with sort of cramp, with injuries, with knocks. And you're always going to get that, but it seems to be happening a lot this season. And that's something is worrying, and whether it's something that's just coincidence, whether the fitness levels are there, but because players are taking more knocks, there's not the squad rotation or substitute in games that Taylor would ideally want to make. But I think with the number that are going on, it's difficult to say, yeah, they are just wear and tear knocks in games.
Yeah, and this is getting on back to the point that we keep saying, that the squad depth is very shallow, and when you start losing certain players like a Wilkinson, a Kinsella, it starts to kind of snowball, and so certain players are having to play 90 minutes when they're not 90 minutes fit. So then you have players like Earing, when he was playing against Rovers, he had to play the last 5 minutes with his hamstring looking like he'd pulled it, because we had no more substitutions, because he'd already brought off other players that looked tired. And it's really, like I say, it's just snowballing, and we need to get on top of it. We need to make sure that the training, whatever we're doing in training, that it's not affecting the players in terms of injuries, because it looks like it has. And we also need to make sure that the fitness levels are there, that we're not slipping and letting up points.
Yeah, and just looking back sort of over the month, it's quite interesting that after the first sort of midweek game against Brighton, we've then struggled in the next two, especially like questions were raised after Newport about fitness, and then again against Bristol Rovers. And that came after a midweek game. And it's a concern that obviously tonight we are playing a midweek game. And then we've got quite a big game against Salford, who haven't really hit the ground running. That Salford are there to be taken at the moment.
Yeah.
They're not firing on all cylinders. They're not the team that they were last season or the season before. But has a corner slightly been turned against Exeter, coming back from being a goal down twice and, you know, sustaining the level and not conceding another late goal? Is it a corner that's been turned a little bit, maybe?
I mean, I'd like to hope so. It is this sort of thing when it comes to fitness issues. It's not something that is fixed overnight. It takes a while for the players to get better. But at the moment, that's not the case. And we need to build that up. We have shown that we can defend for 90 minutes. I mean, Bradford was a prime example where we locked them out, and the players, although they looked tired, they were still doing the job. So I hope the corner is turning, but it just is. It shouldn't have been a problem in the first place, really. After the first kind of 3-4 games, we should have had that fitness level there already. And I think the other issue is it's made to look worse by the fact that we really struggle from set pieces. I don't think that's making it look like, although they are tired, that's not helping the situation, because we're conceding goals, and a lot of them are from set pieces in the last 10 minutes.
Yeah,
we did against Rovers.
It's a lot of the sort of aerial balls in general from set pieces, crosses. That is looking quite concerning. Exeter are, again, like Bradford. I'd never turn my nose or put a point away at Exeter. But I think there was definitely an opportunity to win that game.
There was definitely.
But it did give us one of my favourite moments of Labadie celebrating the penalty being given. It was fantastic.
Yeah, there is something in that you can say that the fitness levels are poor and the quality of the team isn't what you'd want it to be, but there is a desire in these players, which I really like to see. You can tell that when their back is against the wall, they do at least try and come out and fight. They showed it against Bradford, they showed it against Exeter. They really do want to win, which is something that is nice to see the last few seasons. That is nice to see that there is a bit of a fight in the team and that we don't want to lose. And even against the better teams, we will give everything, even if it's not good enough.
So looking at sort of the positives from the month, what can we look back on and go, that was good, that was pleasing? Maybe it's a player, a moment from a match. What are your sort of top couple of things that you're taking away from September?
So number one, I would put George Miller. I know there was a lot of, I want to say hate. It wasn't so much hate as too much people were not very happy with the signing of him. And you can understand why, looking at the context of it. We needed a number 9 and we wanted one on a permanent deal. We wanted some of their experience. So he was a bit disappointing, but you look at what he's done and he's just scoring a lot of goals. And it was exactly what we needed. So for that, he's my number 1. I think number 2 would be finding that Monthi and Meniase are a really good partnership at the back. I think those two there have been very solid. I think defence, the fullback's a little bit weak, but those there are doing a really good job. And I think considering the injuries we've had, and missing Kinsella for a few games and not having Wilkinson as well, we've picked up some points and we've been all right. There's been things to work on, and I think that's kind of down to the fact that it's Matt Taylor's first job. There's always going to be things to work on, but I think we've played good football, and I think we've shown a bit of resilience. So I'd say resilience as well is I'd put in there into like the third place. Is like the squad hasn't rolled over.
Yeah, I completely agree with Miller. I mean, we both sort of sat here just after transfer deadline day going, yeah, he seemed like he might be a bright player to bring in, but it felt like we needed more. And, I'll hold my hands up and say I didn't expect him to be, sort of 4 goals in 4 games, I think it is, which is fantastic. For me as well, I'd say that one of my kind of things that I look back on and go, that's looking good, is Brendan Kiernan, who I think has been probably one of our most consistent players.
Yeah, he's flown under the radar, certainly.
Yeah, and I think we'd really notice him if he wasn't there.
Yeah.
So I think he is. But looking now on the negative side, I mean, we've already spoken about fitness and injuries. For me, particularly, losing Kinsella is a big one, because he will go and notice when the team's playing really well and scoring goals, but his presence is missed when we're losing and we're getting overrun. And I think he's a big loss.
Yeah, I agree with Kinsella. When we're winning, like you say, he kind of goes a bit unnoticed and you kind of take him for granted. And even when we're losing, he's still there doing a job. And when he's not in the side, you can tell that there's just a presence in the midfield that's not there. He's that kind of ratty midfielder who wins the ball back. He's got so much energy.
Yeah,
losing him has been a real kind of disappointment.
I think, especially given that
the other kind of criticism.
I think. Sorry, just to finish on Kinsella. I think the other thing is, when we've got a team that do look like they're fading in matches, Kinsella never looks like he's fading in matches, and to lose that player is sort of, is the worst one to lose.
Yeah, absolutely. He brings a lot to the side, and I don't think we have a person who can replace him. I don't think, even if you look at kind of like a Perry or something, he doesn't offer what Kinsella offers.
Yeah, absolutely. So any more in terms of a negative or something that you would like to see rectified, whether that's an improvement or we shouldn't do this anymore?
I think set pieces is something we really need to work on, just defending set pieces. The coaching staff were shouting at the players in the Bristol game, which player to mark. That shouldn't be happening. The players should know which player they're going to mark before the game. It shouldn't even be talked about. So that, for me, just a little bit more understanding of each player knowing where they're going to be at a set piece, just because we're giving away easy goals there. And then I think just being a little bit tighter in defence. I think that we commit the fullbacks a little bit too much, and I think they just need to be a little bit, is a bit of an issue, and we do tend to get overrun on the wings.
Yeah, I think,
and it only takes one good player to do something, and then that's a goal we've given away.
Yeah, I think the fullbacks, there needs to be a little bit more discipline as to when they are going forward and when they are, creating a flat back four, because there are, like you said, there are times where we are getting beaten too easily, and Ward's not the quickest. He needs to be more disciplined, and I think we need to see more from him. And from White as well, that it's just consistency from the two of them, I think.
Yeah, I think Ward has been probably the most disappointing player this season. I don't think he's really shown us any of that class and ability that he has. We really need to work on his defending and just his positioning, because we know that he's good going forward and that he can put a ball in, but he's not a wing back, so he's a full back. That's where he plays, so he needs to make sure that he's doing his defensive duties first and foremost.
Yeah,
and if he can do that, then it's just going to help us a lot moving forward. And I think the same can be said of Hayden White, although I don't think he's been as disappointing as Ward. I think he's just been fine. I think in every game we've seen this season, Hayden White has just been fine. And I think he just needs to step it up a little bit, because we know he's got the ability. We've seen it before and he's been improving, but he just needs to make one more step now to kind of start being a real dominant force on his flank.
Yeah. So looking at October, the remaining games, I'm just going to look at league rather than, obviously, because by the time this goes out, we'll know how the Northampton game ended. So we've got a mixed month, and we've got an opportunity to pick up some points, and then we've also got some difficult matches. Starting off at the weekend with Salford, I think we've got an opportunity to get some points there. They're only sat 3 points ahead of us, so I think there's an opportunity to get something from Salford. Then Leyton Orient away, I've got to admit I'm not expecting anything from, but I would quite like to, for personal reasons and bragging rights in the household. But then followed up with, which I think is the biggest game of the month, is against Oldham. For me, that has to be 3 points. It has to be 3 points. They're in real trouble, and that will be a test of fitness because it is midweek. But then going into Barrow and Sutton, what do you think realistically we need to? How many points we should or need to be picking up this month?
So I think Salford's a tricky one because they've struggled, but they do have a good side. They do still have a similar team to the one they had last year. And although it's not quite happened for them yet, they are a good side who are much lower in the league than everyone expected. So I think if we can go there and play bravely, I think that we could win. And I think that's one that we need to be getting something out of. Orient, I would be more than happy with a draw there if we can. They're a very good side at the moment, and just trying to pick up those points from the front runners in the league is something we need to do. We need to just try and get those draws here and there. And then Oldham, like you say, Oldham's a must win. We can't make that mistake again, like we did at Rovers, where we gave them a chance to get back into the game and we ended up slipping up. We need to win.
Or like we've done in the past there,
which is something we struggle with.
Yeah, in the past few seasons where we just can't beat the teams that are really struggling.
No,
I mean, Scunthorpe already this season.
Yeah, and that's something that we can take the points against someone like Exeter, but then we'll drop points against someone like Oldham, and it's just we need to be winning the games we should be winning, and then picking up points against the games that we potentially shouldn't be winning. And then you've got to round off the month is Barrow and Sutton, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think they're both games that are winnable, although Barrow are riding a bit of a high right now. I think they're kind of the top half, aren't they? I'd say
both are. I mean, Barrow are in 7th and Sutton are in 11th. But I mean, there's still a lot of time before we get to them. Like you said, Barrow, are they riding a wave like Sutton, or is it consistency? And I think before those games, it will start to be a bit clearer. But I agree. I think Salford could go either way. But we're at home. It's friend for a fiver, so I would expect it to be quite a good home attendance. Salford typically don't travel well. We should be trying to beat them on our own patch. But then, and the same with Oldham. I mean, like we said, it's one of those games that historically Walsall lose 1-0 in. But for me, that's where we should be getting 6 points from.
Yeah.
And then Orient, if we take anything, I'd be happy. And then Barrow and Sutton again. I think if we're sort of picking up 8 points by the end of it, that's not to be moaned at, but that has to be the minimum.
No, I absolutely agree there. I think that 3 points needs to come from Oldham. And then I think when you're looking at Salford, Barrow, and Sutton, I think in one of those three we need to win.
Yeah.
The other two of those games, then I think draws would be okay. A win and a draw there is okay. If we can go unbeaten against those 4 teams, then I'm happy with that. Very happy with that. And then Orient, if we lose to Orient, it's because they're a better team, and I don't mind that as long as we put up a good performance and we fight. I'd be happy with that. I don't mind losing as long as we get the points in the other games, which is really critical.
Yeah. And if Walsall do lose, I'll blame it on us throwing it because we've got a big game against Oldham midweek. So that's going to wrap up our video for today. We will be answering questions. We thought we'd do them in a couple of separate videos that aren't as long and gives more content throughout the week. So Harley, thank you for coming on. We will be catching up soon to answer all your questions. And hopefully we will win tonight, get back into the groove of things. And if we do win tonight, I believe we're through the group, which gives us a game later on that we don't have to really compete in, which I think would be no bad thing.
Yeah, thank you for having me as always. Hopefully we can get the win tonight and we can kick on this month and start to move up the table. It's been a pleasure as always, and I will see all of you guys next time.
Thank you very much. We'll speak to you all soon.